Have you ever felt like you just knew something bad was going to happen? Like a gut feeling, a dream, or a thought you couldn't shake? What if I told you there was a secret organization that tried to turn those feelings into a disaster prevention system? Sounds crazy, right? Well, this isn't fiction. So, let's check out this mind-bending story about the British Premonitions Bureau, because the more you hear about it, the more fascinating and spooky it gets. But here's the thing. People having eerie, gut-wrenching premonitions didn't start with the British Premonitions Bureau. Oh no, this kind of stuff has been happening for centuries. Take Mark Twain, for example. Yeah, the guy who gave us the adventures of Tom Sawyer. Twain once dreamt of his brother Henry lying in a coffin, like super specific details. There was this metal coffin with white flowers on it, and he couldn't shake the image. And then, a few days later, Henry lost his life in a steamboat explosion. When Twain went to the funeral, he saw the exact coffin from his dream, flowers and all. And it gets weirder. Abraham Lincoln himself had a dream just days before he was unalived. He told his wife and friends about it. He saw himself walking through the White House, into the East Room, where there was a casket surrounded by mourners. In the dream, when he asked someone who had died, they said, "The president has been assassinated." A few days later, Lincoln was unalived at Ford's Theater. Coincidence? Maybe. But man, that's the kind of thing that sends shivers down your spine. By the way, I upload videos every week. So, if you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss a thing. Trust me, next week's video is going to be one of the most shocking stories ever. Okay, let's get back to the story. It's 1966, and the UK is still in its swinging 60s groove, but something devastating happens that shakes everyone to their core. I'm talking about the Aberfan disaster. Now, if you've never heard of it, the Aberfan disaster happened on October 21st, 1966, in a little Welsh village called Aberfan. It was one of those tragedies that sticks with you. A massive coal waste tip, basically this giant pile of mining debris, collapsed, and all that sludge came roaring down a hillside. It buried Pantglas Junior School and some nearby houses under 500,000 tons of debris. It was heartbreaking. 144 lives were lost, including 116 children. But here's where it gets eerie. After the disaster, stories started to surface about people who seemed to know something bad was going to happen before it did. One of the most chilling accounts came from a 10-year-old girl named Errol Mai Jones. She told her mom the night before, "I dreamed that something black came down over my school." Can you imagine her mom hearing that? Just thinking it was a bad dream, right? But then, the next day, it actually happened. And it wasn't just Errol. Another child, Paul Davies, drew this unsettling picture of people digging into a hillside with the words, "The End," scrawled on it right before the disaster. It's the kind of thing that gives you goosebumps. This is where Dr. John Barker comes in. He was a psychiatrist who heard about these stories and thought, what if we could actually do something with this? What if we could collect these kinds of premonitions and use them to stop disasters before they happen? I mean, it sounds like the plot of a sci-fi thriller, right? But he was totally serious about it. So, Barker reached out to Peter Fairley, who was a science editor for the Evening Standard, and they put out a call for people to share their premonitions, especially if they had one about Aberfan. The response was huge. Within days, Barker got 76 letters from people claiming they'd had premonitions about the disaster. This gave Barker the push he needed to officially set up the British Premonitions Bureau on January 4th, 1967. Now, this wasn't some fancy government operation or anything. It was more like a small, scrappy effort to make sense of these mysterious premonitions. They created this system where every report was date-stamped and scored on an 11-point scale, like, how unusual was it? How accurate was it? How close in timing was it to the actual event? Over time, the Bureau collected close to 1,000 reports. But not all predictions were hits. For every one that came true, there were tons that didn't. It was like sorting through a haystack looking for a needle. Still, a few predictions were so accurate they made people's jaws drop. Let me tell you about two of the Bureau's star contributors, Alan Hencher and Kathleen Middleton. These two became kind of like the MVPs of the psychic hotline. Alan Hencher was a telephone operator who believed he had the gift of premonition. And honestly, some of his predictions were eerily spot on. Like, he once told Barker about a plane crash he saw in his visions, and just weeks later, a plane crashed over Cyprus, unaliving 124 people. Then there was Kathleen Middleton, a piano and ballet teacher. She wasn't just good at teaching music, her premonitions were like something out of a horror movie. She predicted shipwrecks, train crashes, and even the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. It's the kind of thing that makes you stop and go, okay, this is either an insane coincidence or there's something really weird going on here. Dr. Barker had this theory, though. He thought that maybe premonitions weren't that rare, and they were kind of like being left-handed, something only a portion of the population has. He wanted to collect enough data to figure out if there were patterns in these predictions, like maybe they could create a sort of psychic weather forecast for disasters. Imagine that a system where we could predict tragedies before they happened, just based on people's dreams. But here's the thing. It wasn't all smooth sailing. The Bureau had a big problem. What happens if you actually stop a disaster because of a premonition? Does that mean the premonition was real? Or was it just a lucky guess? It's one of those chicken or egg situations that Barker wrestled with. And then there's the tragic twist. In 1968, just a year after setting up the Bureau, Dr. Barker died suddenly of a brain embolism. And here's the crazy part. Alan Hencher, the telephone operator, had actually warned him something bad was going to happen to him. Barker had brushed it off, and then bam, it happened. It's like the Bureau's own story ended with one of its own eerie premonitions. After Barker's death, the Bureau kind of fizzled out. People still sent in predictions, but without Barker's leadership, the whole thing lost steam. By the time it officially shut down, over 90% of the predictions hadn't come true. But that other 10%? Those are the ones that make you wonder. Even though the Bureau didn't last, it left behind this incredible legacy. It made people question what the human mind is capable of. Like, are premonitions real? Or are they just coincidences that our brains latch onto because they're so strange? Either way, the British Premonitions Bureau will always be one of those stories that's equal parts fascinating and chilling. So, what do you think? If you had a dream about something terrible happening, would you tell someone? Or would you brush it off like Dr. Barker did? Let me know, because honestly, after learning about all this, I'm not sure if I'd be able to sleep if I had a weird dream like that. Well, that's about it. Until next time, take care.